and stuff like that, but I came into Banishers with a pretty low expectations. I didn't expect much from this game. I've not been impressed by anything Don't Know that's made since Life is Strange, basically. I haven't played Vampire, but you know, that's not high on my list right now anyway, especially not after this. But I came in with I would say like very low expectations. I kind of just wanted to play this because it came out this year, and I was thinking maybe this would be like a Game of the Year contender for some people, or maybe it might show up at the Game Awards or something like that. Also, it would be a shorter game. Like, I thought 40 hours would be like the max in this game, rather than potentially being like the midway point, which it absolutely would have been if it wasn't for the fact that I decided to kind of just rush through it. I think I coming in with low expectations. I think the game in the beginning, I think it exceeded my expectations by a lot. I was actually, after the first stream, I was actually very hopeful about it. I actually felt like the game was really good. I really liked all the stuff we'd encountered so far in it, and it made me think like, oh, they've actually like done it. They've actually Don't Let Us actually branched out. Here's a story that I kind of care about already. I kind of like the characters already. The different mechanics, the combat, everything feels very fluid and interesting. It feels like they've kind of built like a different world here. So yeah, I left with like and I thought that the story was a bit deeper than it would eventually be. And I would say as we played the game, that kind of like kept evaporating over time until it was pretty much completely gone. Until we got to the point I was at today, when I had like an hour left of the stream, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna finish the game today. I don't look forward to playing this game again, and I don't want to sit here and be like, oh yeah, next Thursday, guys, we're gonna finish Banishers, because I think I would rather just quit and not play the game ever again, honestly. I think overall, this is a game that what's a good word for this? It's a game that lacks direction. It's a game that feels like it tried a lot of things, and it honestly succeeded at a lot of them to be at an average or adequate level. But the problem is that that's basically the entire game. This isn't a game where you can say like, oh, the combat's pretty decent. The open world is pretty decent, but the story is really good. Like, you should play this for the story. Like, you can't really say that about anything. There's nothing in this game where you say like, oh yeah, that part was really good. Everything feels very, very middling in it, to the point where it's hard to recommend this game in almost any case. I guess a huge caveat here being the fact that this game, for some reason, it's on sale right now, but it's a full price game. I guess slightly lower than modern day AAA, but it's a $60 game, and this is not a $60 €60 game. This is like an indie game that you maybe charge €30 for, maybe. Like if this was €30, I would feel slightly more comfortable recommending it to people. But like, I think like €20 probably would be a good price point for this. What's in this Wanderer set DLC? Some gear? Okay, whatever. The big and that's the big problem with the game. It's that it doesn't excel in any particular way, and honestly, a lot of the things they did in the game feels detrimental to the design of the game. It feels like all the different parts are taken away from each other. And particularly with the story, where the story feels like it should have been the focus on this, and they should have just made a story game. But instead, they for some strange reason, decided to tack on all these other things. And those things aren't bad. There are other games that do those things too and do story good. The problem is that they're so middling and so monotonous that they don't add it, and they don't add anything to the story. So all they do is kind of dilute the story for you. All they do is serve as a, you have a high in the story here, you have a high here, and all they do is just shove these segments away from each other, right? So instead of having really, really good story moment, like something like Life is Strange does, right? Like Life is Strange, another Don't Nod game, really, really good in the sense that it's not just like good story moment, but the parts in between the story are just there to add flavor to the world. to add to the characters, to make you care more about the things happening, to let you explore a little bit, to let you learn, to let you interact with characters and do things. And that works well because those segments of the game take up very little time. You know, you're spending most of the time in those games actually engaging in the story, actually engaging with characters you care about. And then there's a little bit of time where you can, like, if you really care about it, you can maybe find some photo spots, you can talk to all the side characters, stuff like that. This game is not like that. This game is the antithesis of that. That's the right word for that, right? Antithesis? And it draws a big question mark in my brain. Because it's hard for me to say that this game is competently made. It is competently made. There just seems like there's a lot of really bad design choices. It feels like it should have chosen, as a game that touts itself probably as a AA, I would assume, at the price point. And I assume Don't Nod would say this is a AA game. As a game in that bracket, that's where I would put it at least. You have to understand that you can't deliver on every point. That means that you should focus on one point, make that as good as it can possibly be, and then see what you can do with the other things. So in this game, for instance, I didn't expect this game to be like a tube world game. That was not an expectation going into it. And then when I first encountered it, I was like, oh, cool, kind of God of War. But my ending expectations is like, man, that was awful. Just genuinely, like, really, really awful. With what's awful about it being two very significant parts for me, maybe three. One is the fact that all the stuff you do in the world is mindless, monotonous, boring garbage. It's go to some place, break down a wall. Behind the wall there might be a chest, there might be a little pouch with 3 pieces of leather in it. There might be a slightly challenging battle where you fight the same mobs that you fought 600 times before. And by slightly challenging, I mean depending on your build and how good you are at the game, what difficulty you're at. Like, if I played this game on normal, I wouldn't have struggled at any point in the game. I started on very hard, I thought I was boring, I went down to hard, then we ended on story mode. Because I didn't want to fight that last fight. And that's the type of stuff that shouldn't be in a game. When we look at more modern iterations of this, when we look at games like Ghost of Tsushima I gave a crap load of praise to, because it does the opposite. First of all, in Ghost of Tsushima, you're never looking at the map. You can, and I did that a few times, but for the most part, you're just in the world. You see in the distance smoke rising from buildings, and you travel there, and then you fight the Mongolians there. As you're traveling there, you see that there's a set of bamboo sticks on the side of the road. So you stop and you do a little rhythm game. And when you're done with the rhythm game, you get a power up, and that's how that game works. All of the stuff flows naturally into each other, and it's all individually rewarding and interesting in its own sense. Some of the Kitsune things where you follow the Kitsunes to the shrines, that stuff is kind of cool. There's some platforming elements there. You usually get to really cool and awesome looking places with them. All of the challenging fights are individually interesting. Like, everything you do in that game is individually interesting. All the lore you get is just lore about, like, Mongolians and their lifestyles, and it's all just a little blurb. Unlike this game, where all the lore is just like this, like, literal, like, could be a chapter in a book, basically, which also feels weird from my, and I guess that's maybe like a little bit into point two, that from a world building perspective, this game fails tremendously. It fails on two Martin IQs and taking baths, yeah, and that's cool, right? It's stuff that you do that immerses into the game. It makes you feel like you are actually God, why am I blanking on this? Jin. It makes you feel like you're actually this character, and you're sitting down in a hot spring. You're sitting down, clearing your mind, writing a haiku. It feels like you're actually delving into the world when you're doing these things. It feels like you're building the character. You know, when you finish the bamboo thing, doing the little rhythm game thing, that feels like you're kind of like improving as a character. It feels like that's Jin doing that. Jin is the one doing it, and now that's why you're improving. It's not because you went up to a thing and went, ooh. And to that, I would just say for any, like, no developer is gonna watch this. Don't know is not gonna watch this. And if they did, then I would be a little bit embarrassed. But for any future game developers, I would just say, like, don't add monotony to your game. If you want to have a game where you travel around and find stuff and destroy stuff and do other side activities, make them all super, super, super interesting. Like, make them things that don't make them things that I want to check off a list. Make them things that I can make them things that build the world that makes sense that they would be there to begin with, and that are all individually interesting, right? I'm sending them a clip right now. I'll be acting them on Twitter with this clip, as well as to all these memes. They were in chat, by the way. Don't tell them we're in this chat. Like day 3 of streaming or something. They were literally in the chat. I still like the game a little bit more than though. Yeah, I think, and I said this while we were playing, like, I can't imagine anyone at Dontnod 100%ing this game, going in and playing that and being like, oh yeah, that was cool, I really enjoyed it. I can't imagine a single person doing that. There's a literal 0% chance. This would be for everyone first Varte now Dontnod, yeah. And I think that's like the problem, right? The problem is that I should want to do these things. When I play God of War, I want to do them. They're not monotony that I'm doing because I'm bored or because it's checking things off. I actually want to do them because they lead to good rewards. They're fun to do. They're usually individually challenging. They're interesting. This isn't, and that's just an objective fact. This is not interesting. No one's going to play this game, do these challenges, and be like, oh yeah, I had a really, really good time going through fighting the random enemies. It was so much fun doing the endless thing to level 999. Yo, what's up to all this? You're still alive? Oh, I'm alive, alright. Game too good not to finish, yeah. He rushed the story. I rushed to the ending to all this. It's over, thank the Lord. Yeah, I gave up. I threw it into story mode, yeah. Dude, if you watch the VOD, I'm running. I'm not talking to anyone else after. I was running from point to point to point to point to point. Yeah, so that's and to build on what I was saying right now, the problem with the open world is the immersion. The immersion in this game is totally out the window at so many points. First of all, I don't believe, even in this place where we say it's so super scary, that it just goes everywhere. That seems stupid to me. It seems stupid to have a world where there's just ghosts roaming like around every corner, and then everywhere I go there are walls I can break down with my ghost juice. There are spirit catchers. There are weird totems lying around. Like all this so neatly packed into a zone that is this big that would take me like 3 minutes run through. That is unbelievable to me. That fails the that fails my immersion immediately. Now it doesn't feel real to me. If this was like a Red Dead Redemption world like that size, and you had all these things around, sure, believable. That's fine. You know, if you encounter a ghost every like 1 kilometer riding, whatever. The ghost economy was a real thing back then. The other thing that I would say is significant, even more significant, is all these pointless ledges, all these pointless things you gotta squeeze through. I understand that some of these might be necessary to hide loading screens, at which point I would say, cool, whatever. Put them in more realistic places. Like, make a world that actually seems like it's real, that people can actually travel to. People might think I'm over-exaggerating with this wagon thing that I keep bringing up, but the problem with the wagon thing is that it shows that they didn't care. It shows that when they were making this world, they genuinely didn't care. No one sat down and said, how do we make this seem like a real place that real people travel in, that they live in, that they get to? Same with like the log cabins in that new place, right? Like, no one cares. No one cared to... We did that one quest with Anna, not Anna, the other lady, the... Shelob, Shelter Bob. We did that quest, and someone in the design team put wagon tracks that led to a ledge. And then, like, we're not talking about like a little ledge that you can carry a wagon over. We're talking about like a ledge that a grown man has to lift himself up on, right? Someone just did that and we're just okay with it. No one said like, hey, how did she get the wagon up there? And we can say, oh, you're just nitpicking. It isn't nitpicking when it's a continuous problem in the game, and it clearly shows no one gave a fuck, right? Because this isn't something where you... This is something that would have taken a significant amount of design time, right? Because the thing is that you already had to design the world. You guys already had to sit down and design the world. It doesn't take you more or less time to design it properly, right? You put all these pointless ledges everywhere, all these pointless climbing things everywhere in the world, and that made the world less realistic at the cost of immersion. For no reason, because that isn't engaging gameplay. I didn't feel engaged when I walked up to a ledge and I pushed the button to climb it. That isn't engaging. This is not engaging platforming or anything like that. There's not even a jump button, right? So it just feels like pointless traversal added to a game for no reason. And then you can say, well, God of War is the same thing. Yeah, but in God of War, first of all, it feels like it's more a natural part of the world. This is a place that is decaying, a place that is supposed to be fantastical and ancient and epic. So when Kratos is climbing across a frozen giant from Jotunheim, I'm like, cool, whatever, that makes sense, whatever, it's cool. I don't care. This is supposed to be a realistic game, right? At its core. I mean, we know that because there's realistic tidbits. Like when we mouse over the coin, it's just like the English used doubloons when they were pirates in the 1965s, but then back in the 1683s, it's like so it has a core of realism that the world doesn't depict at all. And if you want to go full fantastical with it, then do that. Make this a fantasy world. Don't put it in the real life, because that is just detrimental to it. Did you watch all the endings on YouTube? Apparently there's 4. Yeah, I watched them. I think I think our ending was middling because we got the resurrection ending. I think the sending her away ending, whatever that was called, the Ascension Oath Fulfilled ending was actually pretty good. I actually thought it was a really good ending. And to speak on immersion as well, just as a general perspective, another I suspect Ascension was the canon ending. Well, I don't think they'll do a canon ending for this because I don't think they'll make a sequel. I think there's too many choices, and that would kind of suck if they're like, hey, yeah, your choices didn't matter. But that was a very good ending though. From an immersion perspective, the other huge problem with this game that I've also brought up multiple times is that it doesn't feel like anyone did anything with the world building. It feels like we said, this is a world where ghosts are real, and we have these people that hunt ghosts, and witches are real, and demons are real, and that's it. And then we stopped there. We didn't do anything else with that, right? Like, we have to, if you want to do this world building, if you want to say this is just real life, it's just what we have in real life. It's the same thing. It's in the past. It's in the 1600s, and ghosts are real. What we have to do fundamentally then is we have to ask how did this happen? Like how does the world change because these things are real? How do people change? How do the things they believe change? How do the societies change? Right? These are things that you fundamentally have to ask if you want to make that believable. This is what other games do. This is what God of War does. It asks, what if gods were real? This is what Witcher does. It says, what if these monsters were actually real? Witcher isn't just medieval Europe, right? It's not just, oh, this is exactly how it was in medieval Europe. It's its own separate thing because that's how the world would be if magic and things were real. In this game, there's no difference except the fact that there's banishers and there's ghosts, right? The fact that these ghosts can possess corpses, and that seems to be a normal thing that they can just do. You probably have a different way to dispose of the dead. Maybe you'd burn them. Maybe you would maybe you'd have maybe you'd have like sanctification rituals. You have anti-ghost wars. Maybe you'd have little ghost talismans on top of them. The fact that we know that ghosts can come back to life depending on whether or not whether or not they have something unresolved or the living has something unresolved with them, meaning that if I mourn my wife might come back. That would probably change how people think about things. It would make people more wary of that type of thing. Maybe you would have a different view on life and death because you know that there's an afterlife guaranteed, right? There's a lot of things there that none of this was ever built on or explored at all, and that's just lame, right? That just ruins my immersion because it shows that no one cared, right? They had an idea for a game. This is probably how this game happened. Someone said, what if you made a game where the main character dies at the start and then you're the Banisher guy and you can decide to bring them back, but if you want to do so, you have to steal people's souls. That was probably the concept for this game. That's probably the idea they had. And then they kind of they fleshed it out as much as they had to from there, but then they stopped and they didn't care. And you don't have to do how can you do a sequel? I just talked to the team. They stopped development the second one after your scathing review. She basically say to you, it's a demon or alive. The wife, yeah. Lots of layouts as well, so you would have no ghost power. They'd have to do a spiritual sequel, nice. Good one, Kaiser. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's not that you it's not that you need to delve into the very depths of the world building to make something crazy and to make it this super expansive, like Tolkien-esque thing where everything has to make perfect sense. It's just that if you want to do this specific game they did, then you need to do that. You need to have that ground level. If they wanted to tell a smaller story, that is much less like combat focus and running around focus, that just focused on these characters, they wouldn't have to do that. But they chose to make a giant open world, a tube world, as we call it now. They decided to do that, so they are responsible for making that believable. That's on them. And they just failed. The terrain doesn't make sense. The lore doesn't make sense. It's like how you go into a random house and find like book on Banishers for some reason. Like that, it's just a weird way to tell a story, right? It doesn't make any sense that I just well, I'm glad this person had a book on Banishers. Otherwise, I would know nothing. Like do the Banisher thing through the game. Have annotate, maybe have Red be a little bit more of a new at the job. Maybe this is one of his like first real hunts or something, and then annotate can like guide him, explain how Banisher things works to him. Maybe we have other people we encounter that also know things about Banishers. Maybe we encounter other Banishers that have like different ethoses than we do, right? There's a lot of ways we could have done that. We could have gotten perspectives on Banishers from different people. They did none of that. So overall, just kind of lazy. And once again, I'll preface this like the game is good. Like the combat is I'll talk about the combat later, but like all of the aspects to the game, they're like individually decent. It's just that like nothing is properly done. Nothing was done properly. It's 24 hours watching some guy from another country rant about some mid-game at 1 a.m. The internet rules, yeah. I'd say the combat is serviceable. I think if you played the combat, you would have a different view on it. The combat is actually... It is on the, like, verge of greatness, unironically. It like, you might not believe me, but unironically. Don't try to mind this game after this. I would not recommend it, but... And that's like a general thing. So talking about the story in particular, I think the story in this game, the story that I imagined they wanted to tell, could have been very, very, very good. The actors for the characters are great. They know what they're doing. They I don't think you can see my hand behind me. Looks like a tentacle. The actors and what they were doing, the voice acting overall was great. The performances were great. A little bit like the some of the faces and stuff were a little bit stiff. Some of the performances a little bit stiff because the characters were kind of, despite having a moving camera, which was really, really nice. The characters were still for the most part stuck in the ground. So you would have some guy sounding pretty outrageous, like, I didn't do that, Banishers, but he was just kind of like, I didn't do that, Banishers, instead of like moving around or like having some sort of like outrageous moment. So that put me off a little bit, but for the most part, all of the individual story things were cool. I liked them. I liked meeting Seeker. The Seeker was cool. The characters you encountered were cool. There were a lot of cool dynamics there where if I wasn't so set on bringing Anatea back, because I figured a lot of people probably wouldn't go for that ending. Though, in hindsight, there's a lot of assholes in this game, so maybe a lot of people did. Because there's a lot of people you don't feel bad about blaming. But if it was for that, a lot of the choices you can make actually feel pretty cool. It feels like you actually have some like morally great things happening, where it's not just, oh, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do, which is really, really nice. And the kind of individual storylines that happen to all the haunts seem interesting. Like there's a lot of stuff happening there. There's a lot of characters that have different dynamics. All of it kind of like adds up to tell different stories that sometimes are shocking, sometimes are obvious. But I would say that all of those, even the ones I didn't do, are probably pretty good. They probably have decent outcomes to them. They probably make you feel like you actually accomplished something. That type of stuff is actually pretty cool. And that's the stuff that I would like recommend people do if they play this game, because that's the good stuff. The problem, however, is what I said at the start, which is that the game tries to be too many things at the same time, which means that when we started out, I remember we were having some like disagreements about where this game would go, me and chat. And my idea was pretty simple. I was like, okay, so what we're gonna do here is that as we start out, and Anatea is very anti-ghost. She's like, if ghosts come back, that's bad. That's not, that's not a real person. Their mind is twisted. They will always just stay there. They will always just have more things they want to do. So my idea was that, oh, this is going to be really cool. Because what's going to happen now is that Red is going to have Anatea with them, but Anatea is going to be herself. She's going to obviously have issues. She's going to have a lot of struggles, and they're going to keep kind of building on that dynamic between Red and Anatea. This kind of like Red wanting one thing, Anatea maybe wanting another, maybe a schism in what they want, maybe Red starting to doubt if it's Anatea or not, Anatea maybe blaming Red for being there when she really hates being a ghost. There's a lot of like dynamics they could have done that they absolutely didn't do. They threaded the line a couple of times. There are some times when you rest that they kind of like inch in on this, but it happens so infrequently that it feels like a waste. It's like every once in a while when you rest, they have these conversations, and you're like, cool. I wish this was like something that was happening every 10 minutes in the game. I wish this dynamic between Anatea and Red was very much more player driven, and that it was more ambiguous. I wanted Anatea to come back and be mad at me, to be like, what have you done? Like, how could you fall for this ghost? That wasn't me. You know what I want. You know that you know that I would never want to be brought back. You know that I would never want you to have my ghost floating around. You know that, Red. Like, how dare you steal people's essences to resurrect me, right? That's what I would want. That's the ending I would want for that. But then it's just kind of like, oh, then Anatea was never really the same. Like, but she's not mad at me for stealing people's essences, despite the fact that she would be the first person to be against that in any other scenario, right? That feels really weird. So I think just like, and I like Seeker as his character. I thought Seeker was cool. I like the fact that we travel to these places and have these interactions with the characters to get to make choices. I liked the fact that when I killed Thickskin, her sister took over, presumably implying that if I didn't do that, then Thickskin would have been there, and maybe some quests would have been different, maybe some dialogue would have been different. That's really cool, super cool. Problem again is that they could have cut out all the meaningless garbage between all of these things, and just had like, go to the first camp, talk to the people there, do some mystery solving, go to the next camp, instead of having all of this like things around the map that are distracting you and taking away from it. They also cooked way too much with the additional ghost stories. Like, there are probably like 20 of them in the game, maybe? Might be more than 20 even, but at least 20. And I think they should have just had less. I think less is more there. I think it would have been way more interesting to just have and this goes into gameplay a little bit, but I think the ghost hauntings in general, the gameplay was boring. The gameplay is just, you go up to something, you interact with it, then you just run around, interact with that. You're not really making any choices, you're not really deducing anything yourself. This isn't like Alan Wake 2, where when you learn things, you interact with the world, you learn things, and you go to your mind palace, and you put the things in the mind palace, and then you have ideas, so like, oh, maybe this is this person, and maybe that person did this thing, and then all these two things connect. This is just a thing where you just hit X on everything, and you can just skip all the dialogue, because at the end, you'll probably know what you're supposed to do anyway, right? Which is pretty boring. I think if I were them, I would have done less ghost hunts, but made them all individually interesting, which, that's just another issue the game has. Like, I would recommend people do those if they play this game, but I don't think I could find an image to do all of them. Maybe if you don't do any other side content, you might feel compelled to do that. But even then, they also have the problem that they all have like you finish them, but then you have to finish them again, because there's like a ending thing that happens that kind of shows you how it resolved in the end. And when you have 20 of these, and each of them take like 1 to 2 hours, that's a lot of time to spend on a game of this size. I think it's too open for a linear game, but too linear for an open world game. It felt like they added areas to explore that had nothing. Yeah. Well, it's not that they have nothing either. It's that what they have is just monotonous and bad and boring and like just tedious. It just shouldn't exist. It's stuff that you shouldn't put in a game. With another problem there, well, yeah, I guess that goes into story, but into gameplay. I think that having the multiple endings is cool too. Though I would wish that the endings were more vague in how you get them. Like just telling me that I have to blame people to resurrect Anatea, that's lame. Because I can see how many people there are, so I can make sure I'm always over that line. And failing that should be impossible, literally. So I feel like that should have been ambiguous, so I wouldn't really know. It shouldn't have been like, well, you have to steal people's souls to bring Anatea back, or shouldn't have said majority, so I maybe would have been like, do I have to do this to everyone? Like, I get why they do that, but that feels lame. I like getting to another game and kind of just being like, wait, there's multiple endings, holy crap. I think that type of stuff is cool. It is cool that there's no choice at the end here, I guess. Like, you just get whatever ending makes sense based on what you've done. That's cool. I like that. Is there anything else from the story that I wanna mention? I think oh yeah, of course. At the doing all that stuff with Anathea's friend at the end of the game and all the stuff with Deborah at the end of the game, that is just super lame. I said that Life is Strange does kind of the same thing. Like at the end of Life is Strange, you walk through like the nightmare, and then you see all these moments you had with Chloe. But those are moments you've had. This isn't you randomly learning about Anathea's background, where she met some evil demon girl when she was a child. You know, I feel like that should be something that should have plagued you throughout the story. Maybe maybe that thing had like slightly possessed Anathea during while the thing was happening. She was behaving a bit erratically. Maybe you knew something was suspicious about her, and that's why you've kind of been on edge about her this entire time. Maybe you've been manipulated. It was a demon that wanted you to resurrect her entire time. Not Anathea. You know, there's a lot of stuff they could have done there, where they could have like built that up so it mattered beforehand. It didn't. Deborah as well. That's just a giant missed chance. The fact that Deborah she shows up very sporadically rather than being like a primary thing in the game. I think it would have been way better for her storyline to be told dynamically as we're going constantly. And that's kind of what you said, Jens, was like they're trying to tell a very tight-knit story, but they're trying to tell it in a game that took me 40 hours to finish. That just doesn't work. It has to be... you have to choose how you do that. With God of War, what they do there is the story is Boy and Kratos. That's the story. So what they do is they put Boy and Kratos together, and then they walk everywhere together. And now they're telling the story dynamically through each other, and everything is like a learning moment between them. They're always learning things. They're always like interacting as characters. The problem with this is that the story here is Red, Anatea, and Deborah, right? Or maybe Secret a little bit, right? So we would say that there's maybe 4 or at least 3 primary characters in this, but Deborah plays such a secondary part that it's hard to care about her in the end there, right? Like, I would like to come to the end of this game and really feel for Deborah, be like, damn, I can't believe what these awful people did to you. And I kind of get why you did this back to them. But instead, not only is what she did diluted because you're like, well, I mean, we've been drip fed this so much that I don't really care, but also this world is already so fucked that why would you even care? Like, all these people would have died even without Deborah, because there's ghosts everywhere. All of them are haunted 24/7, right? Like there's probably about 8 people in all of these areas that we go to, and there's like 8 hauntings in each of them. Like, all these people are essentially just dead people walking. It's crazy. Like, they're all just haunted. And I guess from their perspective, you would say, well, that's the nightmare. I don't recall what I would say from gameplay, but from a gameplay perspective, the gameplay, the combat is actually so close to being great that it's shameful. The combat feels really fluid and dynamic. It has a lot going for it in terms of like different builds you can do, different ways you can fight. You have a lot of choices for exactly the way you like to fight, with a lot of like dynamic, it almost looks like a fighting game sometimes with the different combos you can do. Like, I had one combo that was like, it was like shoot the gun, jump forwards as Anatea, hit an enemy, shift form, shoot the gun again, go into Anatea form, or hit with the gun, go into Anatea form in a combo, and then shoot the gun again. There's a lot of strange combos like that you can do, and a lot of different gear that actually builds on top of that, so you can do those combos more powerfully, and that's super cool. The problem is just that the gameplay, like, it's like if they're just focused on the gameplay, I could unironically say play this for the gameplay. It's so close. It is so close to being really, really, really enjoyable that I would almost say like play this and just try it out, because it is actually pretty fun once you unlock some abilities. There are multiple problems with it, but one problem is the fact that perfect parrying is a little bit clunky. It doesn't feel as satisfying as it should be. This is a mostly adventure kind of fun game, so I would probably have an easier way, have like a my sword glows when I can block or something. Um, just some easy way to know when you should block, or when you can like do a perfect parry, because that would just make the gameplay more fun. That like you're not playing this for a challenge, generally speaking. That would be cool. The fact that when you parry one enemy, other enemies can still hit you, that's really bad. There should be a mechanic that makes sure that if I parry one enemy, the other enemies also kind of like stagger for a moment or something, so I can punish for the parry. It isn't fun when you parry an enemy and then two other enemies hit you anyway, while you're trying to follow up on that perfect parry that you did. That's just really, really, really bad gameplay. And there's a lot of small things like that, like an enemy might be charging up an ability, and then you might not be sure if you can like stagger them during it. Sometimes when I did my banish move, I would have iframes. Sometimes I wouldn't have iframes. Might just be a timing thing. That felt bad. A lot of the ways you comboed, which is the reason I didn't do that, just felt clunky and hard to pull off. Like with the one thing, which was swing 3 times and then push the NRTA button to switch and turn to a punch that does more damage. The problem with that is that anytime you push the NRTA button, you instantly switched. And there was a timing window on that, which meant that what you could see even in the last battle there is I would push 1, 2, 3 attack, and I would see my hand glow up, and then I push the button, and I just switch on tail, no attack or anything. And that's just such a huge momentum loss. Especially because if you meant to stagger an enemy there, they'll just hit you with Anatea, Anatea bar goes down, now you're fucked. Yeah, gameplay from a combat perspective, really, really close to being great, not quite there. The other problem being the fact that for some reason, they decided to lock the abilities out so far into the game. We didn't unlock the ability to deal with the vines until like 30 hours into the game, and then we got that Kratos ability where we had Anatea with the blades like 40 hours into the game. Like, that's insane. These should be things that you incrementally unlock like throughout the first area or something. This should not be stuff that you find that late into the game. Especially from a backtracking perspective. This is not a game where most people would probably want to backtrack. Doing a little bit of it's fine, but you should just give people the tools to solve those problems, like, pretty quick. Especially as tools to just use in combat, rather than, like, saving them to the end. Because that just felt stupid to me. That didn't feel satisfying at all. I already talked about the traversal. Traversal is garbage. Puzzle solving was decent. I think most of the puzzles were pretty boring, pretty rudimentary. But you know, that's a whatever burger. I could do without them. I could do without all the traversal. I think that was just pointless. Too much going through narrow passages, climbing on top of things, sliding on ropes. Too much of that stuff. That stuff is just like busy work that I would rather not have. I'd rather just be able to move. Give me a jump button or a soul fall and a glider or something. Oh, the other thing on the surface bit that I forgot is that this game gives you a racist warning at the start. Just like a general like bigotry warning, I guess. I don't think this is the game for it. As I said, they're trying to do the we're realistic thing. This is set in a real place in the world. Things that are realistic. I don't think this is the right game for it. I think if you're gonna have racism be a thing, that's cool. I think this game had racism be a thing, but I think you want to have that be like a primary thing then. It shouldn't be a tertiary thing that some people talk about sometimes. That should either be the theme of the game, or I don't think it should exist at all. Because it just feels weird. You know, Anatea in particular feels like that if racism is such a big thing in this world, she does mention from time to time, like, oh, being a woman, being a black, you know, stuff like that. She does mention it. That feels like it should be like a very core part of her character. Feels something that should be very concerned about, something she thinks about a lot. But it just like it just falls to the wayside, which doesn't feel right to me. It feels like if you want to have the story handle racism, it should be that racism should just be like giga prevalent. There should be a lot of giga racists in this. Otherwise, I should not handle it at all. It's already not a realistic game. If ghosts exist, you don't need racism. That's we can just pretend racism is nothing in this world with the ghosts and the demons and the teleporting wagons. I think that's about it. I think if I had time to write things down, I would have different things to say, but The boss fights were whatever. They were okay. The challengers were lame. The enemy variety was okay. I would say if you just play through this game without I would say that if someone plans to play through this game, which would be my recommendation, which is what people would do, ignore everything. Literally just run from story point to story point. Don't talk to people. Don't do anything. Just run from story point to story point. I think if people do that, if they got this on sale for 15 euros or 20 euros, maybe a good game. You might actually enjoy it. Maybe do the alternative ghost hunts if you think they're fun. But that's also what I want to talk about from a gameplay perspective. We can kind of verge into music in this game is whatever. By the way, the music was okay. It's nothing to write home about. Graphics also, the graphics were good. I would say good to great graphics. So definitely a winning point for the game, but it's using UE5, so. To talk about some gameplay choices they made, and to talk about how I would probably do this game, which I've talked about multiple times. It feels like they made a huge problematic choice with making everything generic. When we first encountered the summoning mechanic, I was like, oh, cool, so we're gonna have like a mechanic where I have to choose which one I pick, and then maybe there's like different outcomes based on which one I pick, and you know, things can go wrong and stuff like that. But it turns out you can just you get 6 of those, 5 of those, and if you pick the wrong one, it just doesn't work. That's how that works. You waste your resources, it just doesn't work. And if you have a rare resource, like something that like unique, you can't even waste that, so it doesn't even matter. So that was just pretty lame. For a game that's supposed to be about ghost hunting, you're supposed to be ghost hunters. You do very little like actual things with the ghost, right? In my imagination, if I think about a ghost hunter game, I'm thinking like Phasmophobia, right? I'm thinking there are different types of ghosts. The ghosts have to be banished in different ways. And what the game is going to be is, you know, we go to a place, it's haunted, we have to figure out what the ghost is, we have to find materials to banish it, go through some rituals maybe, like, and you could have like a different way to banish these ghosts depending on why it's there, depending on who summoned it, what type of ghost it is. That could have been really, really, really cool. That could have been something where you actually sit down and you're like, you have to figure it out. Maybe if you don't figure it out right, maybe there are different outcomes depending on that. Maybe depending on difficulty, you can have like a ghost hunt difficulty where on easy mode you get like 3 tries, on hard mode you get 1 try. And failing is like, oh, now the person died, or the ghost disappeared, now you don't get to banish or to blame or whatever. Just feels like that's like a real missed opportunity in this game, where they could have made each ghost like a really unique experience, where you really have to use your mind. They have resource gathering in this. They could have had like, you know, you could have like, okay, so this is I think this might be a Oni. So that means that we need this resource and that resource, and we need to like assign them in this pattern on the floor. You could have had like a rune creator or something. There's a lot of crazy stuff they could have done with that would have made it really cool, right? Where you could still have the cool fights. You could have had each of these like ghosts that you banish be like a cool individual fight that is very unique to them. Instead of just kind of rehashing old encounters. Feels like there's a lot they could have done that they didn't do, which just builds on the disappointment of the game, right? It's just, well, how do you banish the ghost? Well, you just go click X on a bunch of things, then you get to the point and you choose if you want to banish it, raise it to the heavens, or blame the person. GG no re. That's it. Like there's nothing dynamic there. Nothing. You're not ghost hunting. You're just talking to people and discerning. You're investigating, but there's no investigation happening either. The investigation is the characters do all the work for you, right? Which, like I said, in Max Payne 2, that doesn't happen. In Max Payne 2, if you've already sold something, then the characters does it for you. But otherwise, you are actually learning with the character. You are putting things on the board and learning with the character, which is really, really cool for a investigation game. And as I've said multiple times, that I feel like there are multiple routes they could have gone with this game. I think if they had gone for an open world game, like a proper open world thing where you maybe have a few villages, you travel between them, maybe you travel from one to between them multiple times. You have like 3 central villages, and that's kind of where you go, and you go pick up things, and you go and like investigate areas, and your goal is to find out more about Deborah, and that's they focus more on that, and you really get this open world kind of survival type feeling. I think that could have been like a really good path to go with this game. Focus more on the open world and survival. It's over. Yeah, I rushed it. I rushed it. Focus more on the open world survival type stuff, right? Focus more on like material gathering. Like you actually have to survive in the wilderness. That could have been a really cool choice. That could have been a choice they could have gone with, where that gives the game something unique, something you don't see in a lot of other games. But what I would have done in this game, pretty simple, especially for Don't Nod. I would have just had this, and like hindsight is 2020. I'm not saying that this. I think this is a missed opportunity for them, but obviously I'm saying this based on having played the game. I'm not saying that this is something that they could have naturally concluded. I'm just saying, like, if I was the game designer for this game, I would have set it in one location. I would have said, this is New Eden. New Eden compromises of like, you know, like 40 buildings or whatever. There's 50 characters living here, and I would have just had everything happen there. You have to actually hunt the ghosts. You have different ghosts to hunt. Everything goes on over several days. You could have had like a real day thing going, like you do in other games, like Outer Wilds, right? You could have had the entire point of the game being that you play through it. It takes about like 3 to 5 hours. As you go through these days, while you're hunting down ghosts, you're solving mysteries, you're figuring out what's happening with Deborah, and the goal is kind of to like figure out what's happening in the town before it's too late, right? That could have been really, really, really cool. And then when you're done, hey, you play it again. You know, for 5 hours for one playthrough, do another playthrough. You could have had so many different things. You know, there's so much stuff you could just shove into the game. Be like, oh, I know there's going to be a ghost hunting in this place because I played the game before. So you run over there, you're like, oh, I see now. And if I did this thing, and then, you know, that would have been such a good direction for a double-A game from Don't Nod. Then you could have built in on the characters. You could have really, like, made a lot of cool characters in that town that people care about. You could have had people choose which one they want to save. You could have made people care about everyone. You could have built more on Anatea and Red's relationship. You could have made Deborah a more central character, right? There's a lot of cool things you could have done with that. If you just centered it, made it more about ghost hunting rather than about pointless running through tubes and collecting things, right? That's where I would have taken this game. And I think that would have been like a 10 out of 10 game if done correctly. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, I think. And as per usual, of course my score is going to be controversial because it sounds like I'm just shitting on the game, but as I've said multiple times, this game isn't bad. It's just nothing. It's a game that I played that I will never think about again, except for the wagons. I will never think about, oh, that time in the game that thing happened. It will never happen. Mediocre. Yeah, I already saw your complaint. It's, you know, it's one of those games that if someone comes to me, they're like, hey, I saw you play Banishers. Should I play it? I'd be like, have you played Witcher? They're like, oh yeah. Have you played God of War? They're like, oh yeah. I say, are you like really bored? Like, do you just want to try it out? They're like, yeah, I mean, it's on sale for 20 euros. I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, give it a try. Like, just ignore all the side content. Play the game on like easy or medium, and just pretend everything that side content doesn't exist. Don't explore ever. Never ever fall into the trap of exploring. Just don't do it. Just pretend exploration doesn't exist. And I think if you do that, I could easily see this game being a game that people enjoy. But the problem is that all that stuff exists in the game for some reason. Unexplainable. No one could explain it to me. Yeah. Let's do a little bit of updating here. Banishers, Ghost of Eden, open critic? This is probably an open critic, right? Are we winning? And hey, Dongle's here. What the hell? It's like 6 a.m. where he lives. All right. In conclusion. Oh, it's not. There's no apostrophe. It's 10 p.m. Oh, shh. Hell, man. So as you can see, I was this game was big. Meaning I was like, hey, this looks like it could be fun. It took us a grand total of Banishers 46 hours to finish this game. 46. Oh, 46. Let's open up how long to beat real quick. How long to beat Banishers. Or no, 46. 21, 21.59 and a half. 21.59.5. Alright, so a bit above average normal. Have you tried Getting Good Kid? I'm tired, boss. Alright, so here's the scale we're judging at. 10 is a flawless masterpiece. 9, everyone should play this. 8, great experience worth playing. 7, good play sounds fun. 6, alright play if you like the genre. 5, average. 1 to 4, avoid at all costs. I think it would be irresponsible to not put this game in the 9s, for sure. Because, I mean, like I said, it has some problems, but it's an overall good game, right? I think we have to put it in the 9s. I think that's just a given. The question is just, do we go low or high 9s? I mean, it is a pretty good game. It is a pretty good game. 9.9, that's a little bit high. I think, very concretely, here's my thoughts on this. If I went for the racism, it would have been a 10. As I said, the game overall is competent. The main flaw of this game is that it does nothing exceptionally, which is a big flaw. However, like I've said, the game is good. I had fun playing it until today, honestly. Like I was like, hey, you know, I started today. I was going to do all the exploration things. I was still having fun with it, but then it clicked in my head, like, wait, there's going to be even more of this. Like I'm going to be doing this until like next Tuesday. And I'm not even like, I'm not really enjoying it. I'm just like kind of like going along the flow. But I think 6 is like a obvious choice for this. This is definitely a genre game. This is a game that, like, if you like God of War, if you like The Witcher, and you just want something like that to play, definitely like I can recommend this game with a very mild recommend if it's cheaper. The question is just how high up I would put it. I think if this game was succincter, I mean, this game was like 5 hours long, honestly, that would have been in the nice probably. But if this game was shorter for what it is, I could rate this higher. I rated Hellblade, like, I think what was that, Hellblade 2? Was that like a 6.7 or 6.5 or something? 6.6. And I thought this game was pretty bad, but a big reason for that is because the game is short at least. Meaning that while it was bad, at least it didn't overstay its welcome. I just played it, I was done with it. There you go. Game over. Don't have to think about it again. This is a game that like like even if you're like kind of rushing through the game, this is gonna take you at least like 20 hours according to the how long to beat, right? At least 20 hours. Oh no! You should put a disclaimer in your recommendations to not look for any wagons or else insanity will occur. I mean, I've said this before. Oh, the 18 thing shouldn't be here. I've said this before. No one else cares about that stuff. It's only me. I'm the only person that notices that stuff. But for me, like I said before, all that stuff is just proof that they didn't care about the game. The other proof being this, which kind of pissed me off, is like, like there's no media for this game. They did nothing with it. This is the only video for this game, and this is two voice actors. I watched this yesterday. This is two voice actors arguing over a choice, and this is cool. It's clear these voice actors care about it. They have different opinions. That's awesome. That kind of works with their character dynamic in game. But the problem is that the thing they're primarily doing here is like the good part of the game, and this is everything that exists for it. Like don't nod YouTube. Do they have a YouTube channel? Don't nod. Launch trailer, accolades trailer, story trailer. Like there's no like developer things here. It feels like it's not like, oh, this is, you know, there's just a bunch of trailers. There's not like, oh yeah, this is why you should play this game. Don't nod Banishers interview. Maybe there's solved. It's not easy to be told you're in love. How Don't Nod reinvented the video game love story? No, absolutely not. I don't know. I have enough for detail. Someone posted a clip about some girl's ass at the gym, and all I could think about was their ankle monitor. Let's say that close monitor as well. 6 out of 6. Only. What was this emote? Play if you like the genre and the line. Well, I don't have a huge eye for details, and that's why it annoys me, right? That's why when I notice that stuff, there's a problem. Because I shouldn't be thinking about that stuff. But when I am, that means there's an issue with the game. Because I'm the last person that cares about this type of stuff. Which is why when I do, that's a problem. We're still small results into crafting AA games. We're trying to same all the time. Person distributed. The love story came once we knew we were gonna tell a ghost story. We did something about vampires already. What's new? Mummies, not very interesting. Werewolves. Ah, ghosts. Ghosts are cool. Its motion regrets melancholy. It was in the fever. The characters have reason to shine and reason to be potentially hated. They have the deep motivation. Like they're just talking about the ghost parts here, right? They're just talking about the cool stuff. Not even that good of a love story. It has the foundation for a good love story. It has a really good foundation for it, but it isn't expanded on enough. Is it exciting for you when you see people take a long time to make a choice? Each time I'm watching a Twitch stream and someone is putting down the pad, I say, yeah, we did it. Can you imagine watching my stream? He's like, god damn it. It wasn't even a hard choice for me because I knew which ending I wanted, and they told me I have to do the majority of the time. And also, I would say the majority of these choices were not hard. I would say most of them were pretty easy. Are set in the same universe? Wait, is that true? The two against participants in the same universe, and most of our players may find some evidence of that in few cues, items, and readable items. For instance, Charles Davenport's brooch looks like that symbol of the brooch of St. Paul's stole from a vampire. Hey! Where's Dwalius? He would love this. It feels like they just threw this game down the river, though, right? Like... it feels like it feels like no one, they didn't care about it didn't feel like they didn't care about this game at all. Like I did, were they at stage at like games at like the Game Awards talking about the game crying? Were they lore rich world? That's just not true. Early must plays, yeah. What was that? Where was that from? Where is this from? I don't even remember this. Is this even in the game?
It's always... Do you think black people...
What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. Yeah. So we're putting this in the sixes. I'm struggling so hard between like low and high that I might just put it in the middle. Because I feel like if you do, I feel like in a hypothetical universe where my brain didn't work the way it does, and I just went through the story, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, this is probably maybe like a 7. But I feel like in the world that I live in, where I did all this stuff, is like I'm struggling to even give this game a 6. I think in the middle is probably fair. I think I would put this game like straight to dab in the middle. Because I mean, I would tell people if this sounds fun, play it, but I would have to caveat that a lot, at least 5 times. All right, 6-5. Well, what did the reviewer say? 80? Jesus Christ, reviewing is truly dead, huh? 8.0 from reviewers. There we go. It's between Yakuza 3 and Helltaker and Viewfinder and Dark Page Anthology and Planet of Lana and Nuts. I probably should have, I don't know, did I rate Planet of Lana too lowly? I don't even know. I guess these have very similar problems. What about Feet Processor Pro? Jace, that game is way too expensive. Have you seen how expensive that game is? Feet Poser Pro. Jesus, I should not have searched for that on stream. Jesus Christ. I don't even know what's in that recommended. Look how expensive this game is. It's insane. This is more expensive than Banishers. Or on sale. Alright, let's put it in. Did I already search for it? Alright. How much in real money? Like 30 or like 35 euros. Okay, so how I do this is very simple. I'm just like, would I rather play this or that? Like, would I rather play Turnip Boy or Senua Saga Hellblade 2? I'd rather play Turnip Boy. Rather play Senua Saga Hellblade 2 or Banishers? I would rather play Senua Saga, honestly. I mean, at least this game tries to do something different. Would I rather play Banishers than Contraband? Yeah, for sure. I mean, Contraband was fun, but this is like... These games may have like basically the same problem. Would I rather play it than Planet of Lana? Yeah. You can pay 35 euros for Feet Processor Pro or 40 for Banishers. I know my choice. Yeah, but you are a pervert. How many games on the list? 23? Not bad. We haven't played a lot of bangers this year, but we played a lot of decent games. I want to play that new 40k game. We're gonna do that after Baldur's Gate 3 before we play Yakuza 6. We're gonna play both of those because they're pretty short, I think. Co-op? I know, just by myself. I didn't know the games had co-op. I guess the final conclusion I have for this, if there's like one thing I would want to don't know to know, it's just you clearly have the competency. This is clearly a competently made game. It just feels like there were like 2 or 3 design choices that you made at some point that really just kind of ruined the game for me. Which is like my problem. You know, if a game is just bad, then it's just bad. I don't care about it. There's like, oh, this is just a bad game. It's poorly made. This game isn't poorly made. It's well made. The combat is like serviceable. The story stuff is serviceable. The characters are serviceable. The graphics look good. The open world stuff is arguably the worst part of the game. But I mean, it's functional at least. You know what I mean? This is what happens when there's no crunch. I don't know. It's just like I'm raving about the game because I had a lot of problems with it. But ultimately, these are problems that probably could have been fixed with well, some of them would have to be fixed at the beginning. Like you can't just redo all the challenges of world building. But these are problems that can be fixed without redesigning the entire game, right? If they just built the world differently, a lot of problems go away. If they just put meaningful content into the game, problems go away. If they made the game shorter, why make it so long? You know what I mean? It's so competently made. And don't know that can clearly make great games. Right? Like the story stuff in this is good. It's just the way it's formulated and the way that it's separated that makes it not good. But if they just made this Anatea and Red thing way more cohesive and way more a dynamic that is constant and something that you think about and something that like dwells inside you, it would have been so great, right? So it's like a packaging problem, right? Like they have all the components there and they clearly have the expertise and the skill to make this thing. It's just so mediocre. It feels like they knew how to do the thing, but they didn't want to take any chances with it. They weren't doing anything special with it. They just ended up on this like plateau. If learn from their mistakes, the next game should be a total masterpiece. I mean, I already think Life is Strange is a great game, the first one. I didn't like Life is Strange 2 as much, but that's also a good game. I haven't played Vampire yet, but I'll play at some point. I look forward. Their next game is coming out soon. It was on their YouTube channel. I actually look super forward to that. I don't remember what it's called. I have it as hype. Don't nod. Lost Records. The next game, Lost Records. That's big. It's called Lost Records Bloom and Rage. This game? I'm not gonna look at the actual trailers for it, but this game looks awesome. This is from 9 months ago. This game looks super cool. I look forward to playing this. Yeah, but the issue is like the issue I have it like saying like learning from their mistakes is like these don't feel like mistakes, they feel like intentional choices. And I mean obviously we looked at the Steam ratings, right? Like the overall ratings is at an 80. So I mean people liked the game. I don't know how they came to such a different conclusion than I did, but obviously some people like this game. I'm just saying that if this I'm saying like know what your strengths are and build on those strengths, and then you get a masterpiece, right? Outer Wilds, super giga popular game. This could have been Dontnod's Outer Wilds, right? If they had just built in on the things that matter, the characters, the ghost hunting, right? They could have made it a co-op game. You could have had like imagine if you had that town I talked about, where things are happening. Then imagine you can control Red or Anatea, you can kind of move them around. Imagine if you could have one person playing Anatea, one person playing Red. When you play in co-op, you can do more things. You can be like, oh, I'm going to be over here. When you're over, like, there's so much stuff they could have done that could have made this game like a super smash hit. It was something that everyone played, something everyone talked about. But instead they just went so middle of the line that this game probably didn't even sell that well. Like if you look at Steam charts, Banishers. Like, did this game even break 1,000 concurrent players? Okay, at one point it had 3,000 at launch, and now we're down to like 147. And depending on how much money they spent, this is decent. It's on other platforms too. It's probably I think it's on Game Pass. I think we saw. I'm not sure. But it might be on Game Pass. It's on consoles, right? So they probably did okay for themselves, I imagine. They probably did just okay for themselves. I don't know if they broke a profit from this. I mean, the game's already on sale, so it probably didn't sell that well. But it just feels like they really should have just said, here's what we do well. We do characters well. We do mysteries well, and just really built in on that and just made a game that's all about the characters and the mystery. And they could have had all this cool gameplay attached to it, because they can obviously make gameplay. Like, this gameplay is cool. But if you just focus that gameplay in a different direction, they could have made something like super unique that people actually wanted to play, that people talked about. All the streamers could have been playing it. It would have been a huge hit on Twitch if it was a game like that, right? A game where every playthrough is essentially different from each other, and you can watch one person play, watch another person play, watch another person play, and they're all different playthroughs, and they all have different things, and you can learn things like, oh, wait, this person did that, and then this happened. Wait, what if we do this thing, and then we do, there's a lot of potential there for a game like that, right? Which is just kind of missed. Despite the fact that this genre would have fit so well with that, I think. But once again, I understand this is hindsight, right? For me, the big problem for me is just, it feels like they went so middle of the road with this. I can't imagine what the target audience was. Who was the target audience in this? Like, it isn't God of War fans, because they're just going to play God of War. It's not Witcher fans, because they're going to play Witcher, right? No Witcher fans going to play the... very few Witcher fans going to launch this and be like, oh, this is like Witcher, cool. Also, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, this is a little bit clunky. That's a little bit awkward. Oh, the ghost hunts are just pushing one button. Okay, well, right. That's going to be most people. So who were the target audience? This feels like a game that would be released in like 2002, just like another game you put on the shelf that someone would buy because they saw it on the shelf. But we're in the digital age now. There's no shelf anymore. You need to stand out. You need to be something epic. And if that was just a love story, cool. You'd probably sell more copies. People are probably more interested in it, right? But this middle of the road thing, it doesn't work. I don't think. My opinion. Yeah. Overall, seemingly really competent dev team. Lot of interesting choices. Overall, I would say bad choices made. Now we quit this game forever, and I'm never going to talk about it again, except for the wagons. All right. Well, it's literally my bedtime right now. I am what 4 hours over regular stream time, something like that. Is anyone streaming right now? There's no shot, right? No. Oh, this is sponsorship. All right. Thank you all so much for being there through this Banishers journey. Thank you for listening to me ramble for the last hour or so. I decided to finish this day because I didn't want to didn't want to delay Baldur's Gate anymore. I want to get into it. So on Thursday we will officially be starting our Baldur's Gate playthrough. Regular time 17:00 no time 5 to post 2. Catch us on the stream time zones if you're new here. Get for stream on the Discord, all that good stuff. Thanks so much to Mortis, to Curbs for the raids today. Everyone, please go check them out as well. Might be doing a movie night on Friday. I'll probably have details for that today. And then we'll be doing the weekend Mario next weekend. So after we get like 6 Baldur's Gate streams in, we'll do the double Mario thing next weekend. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, love you all, appreciate you all. I'm just gonna head out because obviously all my friends are gone. I'll be back a couple days. Have a good rest of the week. See you later, alligator. Keep fighting fires and bye bye.